So on January 8th, 2020, my family flew from Beijing to Taipei for one of our normal trips to visit relatives here. And we packed light. We left our laptops and most of our tech equipment back in Beijing. And long story short, we never went back. It's funny now, but it wasn't so funny at the time when a 2-week trip in sort of like Gilligan's Island fashion turned into a permanent relocation. And like many people at the time, we suddenly became refugees, rootless, wondering what's going to happen next, and trying to reestablish ourselves in a world that was turned upside down. And we were among the lucky ones. We survived. We got through it. There are people who didn't. But it got me thinking about a number of different things. So scuba divers have a saying. They say it's not the shark that you see that you need to worry about. It's the shark you don't see. That's the problem. And this is often referred to as black swan events. And these are difficult enough for adults to deal with. But how do we prepare our children, whether they're your own children or the children who you are teaching, for the day when their imaginary monsters possibly become real? As we speak, we have a great deal of socio-political conflict around the world, and this has been with us throughout human history. It's nothing new, and I'm not making light of that, but this is a known issue that we've had to deal with. But there are two more urgent ones that I believe are pressing on us at this point. One of which is technological advancement, which is challenging humanity's sense of purpose, and climate change, which is threatening humanity's very existence. So Generation Alpha, which is the generation my children belong to, has been born into this profoundly chaotic era. Gen A is defined by this birth period spanning from about 2010s to the mid-2020s. It'll be a couple years from now that we wrap that generation up, and then I guess move on to the betas. But the global population of Gen A will be more than 2 billion people in 2 years. Think about that. 2 years from now, they will top out at 2 billion children on this planet. They spend more time on screen than any other generation, even more than you guys do. And they'll work in jobs that don't exist yet. I want you to think about this. If you're a teacher, I know many of you are studying to be teachers. If you're a parent, you have to prepare children for a future in which they will do things that you can't even imagine yet. So how do we approach that? What do we do? 2/3 of Generation A want to do something to help the planet. They understand the planet is important, and they are, as a young generation, going to be inheriting the earth that we leave them. And the top line then is that Gen A is arguably the most connected generation, the most disrupted generation so far, and the most uncertain generation to date. The next one, I'm sure, will probably top them out on this point. Now, it's natural to want to protect our children. This is a very normal instinct. But sheltering them doesn't strengthen them. So, as a father, as a teacher, as a human being, I've been thinking about this lately. How do we prepare Generation A for an uncertain future? Based on my observations and my reflections, I have a few principles that I want to share with you, 6 basic points that I want to offer for consideration. These are going to be curiosity, engagement, communication, lateral thinking, improvisation, and risk-taking. So we'll go through these. There are some sub-points as well that are related. First of all, curiosity. This is something that comes very natural to children, but we sort of beat it out of them in a way. Traditional education emphasizes memorization and performing well on exams at the expense of curiosity and critical thinking. The result is that kids very quickly learn to hate school and perhaps even hate education. Interactive learning, which includes educational apps, activity kits, stimulates curiosity and actually makes learning fun, which is a shocking concept, right? But that's as it should be. Activities that prompt children to ask who, what, where, when, why, and how promote a mindset of inquiry and observation that's very important. And encouraging children to explore the outdoors and giving them time to do that fosters curiosity and care for the world around them. Now, once curiosity is sparked, engagement is key. Children who are engaged are more motivated to learn and to grow and to explore. Unfortunately, Generation A has become far too comfortable with high-tech pacifiers. And this is understandable. Most adults are overstretched, overworked, and it's very easy to pass our children off to these tools to sort of keep them out of our hair from time to time. But the problem is this: human interaction is essential for the development of IQ and also EQ. So we need to spend more time on that. Working in teams sparks engagement for children through social interaction and shared goals with collaborative activities. They learn how to socialize, how to achieve something together. Project-based learning presents children with tasks that require adaptive planning, execution, and reflection across different disciplines. Exposure to cultural experiences, arts, crafts, music, museums, promotes interest in the world's diversity and our children's place in that line. The next point, effective communication skills are crucial for sharing ideas, learning from others, and working collaboratively, whether you're working with a human or with a bot. Digital communication is like water for Generation A, but our guidance is required to keep them from drowning in a sea of choices. The proper use of digital tools prepares children for modern communication paradigms. So, role-playing, this comes very naturally to children. It helps them to express themselves, to understand different points of view, and to resolve conflicts. Activities ranging from presentations to debates enhance communication, recognition, and confidence. Now, society encourages focus and function within reliable systems. But what happens when our systems break down? What happens when our systems are unstable or unknown? Lateral thinking examines challenges from different points of view and promotes different ways of creative problem solving. So, when we have a goal in mind, typically we think about progressing towards the resolution of that goal in a forward vector. But the reality is that there's an entire field of possibilities around us that we have to choose from. So sometimes a backwards move occurs that actually takes us forward to our goal through an indirect path, and perhaps even leads us to a result that exceeds our expectations. Integrating diverse subjects into cohesive lessons promotes new ways of understanding general concepts. Brainstorming, where all ideas are welcomed and entertained, fosters collaborative problem solving. And seeking alternative solutions to conventional problems encourages thinking outside the box. One of the more famous examples is the influencer Kyle McDonald, who traded a paperclip up to a house through a series of online deals that took into account what he was trying to achieve, but also what each individual that he was trading with was getting out of the deal through each of those steps. So he was combining his IQ with his EQ to get the result. Improvisation teaches adaptability and thinking on your feet, and this is an essential quality in a chaotic world. If you think you know what's going to happen next, you're kidding yourself. You might have a plan, it's good to have a plan, but that plan will change, and you need to be able to adapt and pivot quickly, flexibly, and with some sense of humor. So we're generally, however, expected to plug into these predetermined choices, right? Boxes that we are expected to slot into, which are basically, in many respects, a waste of our education. We are serving somebody else's needs, but not necessarily our own. So providing time for children to have unstructured play lets them improvise their own stories, their own solutions, and their own possibilities. Adaptive play, with rules developed by children in concert with adults, encourages flexible thinking within guidelines. This is my daughter Claire, who's developing a board game using ordinary playing cards and dice to come up with a rule set that she finds appealing. Performance classes and experiences enhance children's ability to collaboratively think and to interact. And finally, risk-taking is essential for dealing with uncertainty and stepping out of our comfort zones and achieving growth. Any of you who have parents, relatives, or friends who are saying, take the safe approach, don't take risks, At this point, after what we've been through, what we're still going through, you can ask, what is the risk-free approach? The great thing about what we've been through recently is that we know there's no such thing as a guarantee, there's no such thing as certainty, so we might as well take the risks that we want to achieve the dreams that we aspire to. It doesn't mean being reckless, but going for it with accountability in mind of what we're trying to achieve and a plan of action. So it's natural to want to protect our kids, and our good intentions, however, can become a little bit confining in that respect. Adventure sports like surfing, rock climbing, encourage calculated risk-taking and decision-making. Introducing children to new places and cultures inspires them to step out of their comfort zones and embrace the world and the possibilities of that world. And encouraging children to start small projects or businesses, as many have. There are many apps and businesses that have been created by children quite profitably, quite meaningfully. A modern spin on the neighborhood lemonade stand from the USA. This teaches children about risk, resilience, and reward. So I believe these recommendations don't just apply to children, to Generation A, but really to all of us, myself, yourselves, and I hope that we can all work together as human beings, as future parents, as future teachers, to really support Generation A so they can not only deal with an uncertain future, but actually take that future into their own hands and make it something that is a better future for themselves and a better future for their own children. Thank you very much.